We just learned about the iPhone Fold specs, such as the sizes of its screens, cameras, Touch ID, and more. Apple's first foldable phone, the iPhone Fold, is said to be on the way, but some of the best foldables will be quite competitive. But a recent report may have given us the best idea of how this phone could beat the competition. According to information from GF Securities, analyst Jeff shared what he thinks are the iPhone Fold specs in a recent investment report via 9to5Mac. Some of the leaked specs include the size of the screen, the cameras, and other things. The research says that the iPhone Fold will come out in September 2026 with the iPhone 18 Pro series. It will be made of a mix of aluminum and titanium. The phone is also claimed to use the same A20 chip that the iPhone 18 series is expected to have. It also has the Apple C2 modem, which is an improved version of Apple's C1X and C1 in-house modems. These are found in the iPhone Air and iPhone 16e, respectively. The reported specs for the display are largely the same as what we've heard in previous speculations. The 5.3-inch front display is smaller than what earlier leaks said, which suggested a size of roughly 5.5 inches. The 7.8-inch main display has been around for a while. One big thing that comes from these specifications is the apparent reveal of the cameras that come with the iPhone Fold. Pew said that the phone will sport two 48MP cameras on the back and an 18 megapixels camera on the front. It also seems that Touch ID will be utilized instead of Face ID on the phone. How is it different from Samsung's upcoming foldable phone? Apple's first foldable phone is going to have a hard time, especially since companies like Samsung and Google have had a few generations to work out a lot of the bugs. That being said, experts in the field say that Apple's involvement might have a big effect on the foldable market. Samsung and the upcoming Z Fold 8 will likely be among the key challengers. When we consider all we've been told about the two devices, there are also some surprising commonalities. The two cell phones' reported screen sizes differ most notably, with the Z Fold 8 projected to equal the 8-inch display featured on the Z Fold 7. I am a little concerned about how small the iPhone's front screen would be, especially since it might be more difficult to use when folded than a standard phone, even though the main screens might not be all that different. We anticipate that the Galaxy Z Fold 8 will keep the same 200 megapixels primary camera as the Z Fold 7. Galaxy Club, however, suggested that Samsung may increase the telephoto lens to 12 megapixels and the 12 megapixels ultra-wide lens to 50 megapixels while preserving a 3x zoom. If this is true, you will be getting a substantially better camera package than the iPhone Fold, but we won't reach any conclusions until we can compare the two in person. Price will undoubtedly be the decisive factor in all of this, particularly considering there have been claims that the iPhone Fold could cost up to $2,400. However, considering the popularity of Apple goods, Apple experts have stated that the sale may not be as difficult as some may imagine. Although there are presently no substantial price rumors for the Z Fold 8, it is undoubtedly going to cost more than the $1,999 Z Fold 7 due to the rising cost of RAM. It is currently hard to decide with certainty which foldable phone will be best for you. Until then, we'll keep you posted on any fresh rumors and leaks we come across regarding both phones. Thanks to the adoption of Samsung's latest OLED technology, Apple's rumored foldable iPhone may have a thinner and brighter screen. According to Thielek, the color filter on encapsulation, OLED screen developed by Samsung is distinct from standard OLED panels, which incorporate a separate polarizing film positioned above the display to boost contrast and decrease reflection. Rather, the color filter is directly placed on the protective encapsulation layer of the OLED using the code design. This technology boosts brightness without adversely affecting power usage by making a smaller display stack that lets more light through. Apple might be able to build a thinner foldable iPhone with the help of the thinner panel. The first Apple product to employ this new OLED display is likely to be the foldable iPhone, which is slated to emerge later this year. In 2027, the next Apple device to use it might be the next iPhone Air. Additionally, Samsung's forthcoming S26 Ultra, Galaxy Z Fold 8, and Z Flip 8 are likely to use the latest OLED technology. In addition to this OLED technology, Samsung might give Apple its recently released creaseless, foldable OLED. The most public antagonist that Apple is attempting to actually suppress is YouTuber Jon Prosser. And with good reason. In his videos, the man Apple sued in July for leaking iOS 26, and Liquid Glass routinely reveals Apple's impending goods, such as the foldable iPhone, which isn't likely to be presented until next year. Prosser offered the world an early Christmas present on Christmas Eve, a video displaying what he believes is Apple's foldable iPhone in all of its literary magnificence. According to Prosser, the foldable iPhone, which is likely to be released in the fall along with the iPhone 18 Pro and 18 Pro Max, will feature a hole-punch camera and a 5.5-inch external display. There will be a hole-punch camera in the upper left corner of the 7.8-inch foldable screen inside. In his renders, two cameras are positioned on an oblong camera plateau that mimics the iPhone Air, with an LED flash on the other side. According to Prosser, the foldable iPhone will be 9mm thick when closed, which suggests that each half will presumably be 4.5mm thick. Compared to the 5.6mm iPhone Air, which feels extraordinarily thin in the hand and is already slightly thicker than a USB-C connector, that would be more than a millimeter smaller. The measurements do match the reported footprint from multiple past tales. It contradicts a recent leak, though, which indicated that the foldable iPhone would have a 5.25-inch outside screen, smaller than the 5.4-inch iPhone 13 mini. When folded and open, Prosser's 3D models seem to show a folding iPhone that is bigger than it is tall. The foldable iPhone may resemble a first-generation Pixel Fold side-by-side, down to the arrangement of the hole-punch cameras, with the exception of Google's Foldables' broader bezels. According to some speculations, the foldable iPhone's folding display would contain an invisible under-panel camera. Whether Apple can lessen the visibility of the crease will be the important question. According to a number of earlier allegations, Apple has sorted things out, but the most recent leak raises the prospect that this may not be the case. In the end, if Apple does debut a foldable iPhone next year, it will undoubtedly stir a lot of enthusiasm. However, whether or not buyers purchase it will be the ultimate measure of its success. Despite being a cutting-edge phone with incredible shrinking that might be a preview of future Apple smart eyewear, the iPhone Air has supposedly been a sales catastrophe. There might not be an iPhone Air 2 next year because of how poorly it has sold. Compared to the ultra-thin iPhone Air, which has fewer cameras and a poorer battery life, more customers have bought the iPhone 17 and 17 Pros. Will purchasers appreciate the benefits of a foldable iPhone, particularly if it costs an outlandish $2,000 or more? In my opinion, it's unwise to bet against the iPhone, yet the iPhone mini, iPhone Plus, and now the iPhone Air are reported to have sold poorly. Recent supply chain evidence suggests that Apple plans to utilize advanced titanium alloys and liquid metal for its first foldable iPhone. According to Use1122, who said that the hinge of Apple's first foldable iPhone will be made from liquid metal, an amorphous material that Apple has been researching for over 15 years. The main body of the device is expected to feature a new titanium material that enhances strength while reducing overall weight, despite having a surface area similar to that of existing titanium iPhone frames. Apple has a long-standing relationship with Liquidmetal, stemming from a 2010 agreement with Liquidmetal Technologies. This agreement granted Apple a perpetual, worldwide, fully paid, exclusive license to commercialize intellectual property related to liquid metal within the consumer electronics sector. Around the same time, Apple began exploiting the material in microscopic components for the iPhone and iPad, such as the SIM ejector tool. Apple periodically extended or renewed parts of its arrangement with Liquidmetal Technologies in the years that followed, but the material was never extensively employed and was still problematic to scale for high-volume structural components. Over the years, theories and Apple patent filings have continued to mention liquid metal. Because liquid metal doesn't have a crystalline structure, it has considerable strength, is resistant to permanent bending, and can sustain repeated mechanical stress. Titanium offers a superior strength-to-weight ratio for the device's body than aluminum or stainless steel, although foldable versions have extra constraints due to their bigger size and the demand to control weight around the hinge. This could be rectified by making modifications to the titanium alloy itself, as well as the production method to enhance strength while lowering weight for a given surface area. Since the foldable iPhone is presumably Apple's fourth try at a titanium iPhone, the alloy's composition has been tuned throughout numerous generations to enhance specific attributes. With the premium pricing of around $2,000 and timing of the launch, we expect limited foldable iPhone shipment of around 8 million units in 2026, or approximately 3% of total iPhone shipment, which will likely grow to 20 million units in 2027, Malik wrote in an email on Tuesday. According to Yahoo Finance data, almost half of Wall Street analysts give Apple a buy rating, which the analyst reiterated. Citing margin risk from the surge in memory chip prices, he did cut his pricing estimate from $330 to $315. For almost a year, Apple's stock has been worthless as investors have migrated to more AI-focused companies from the Magnificent Seven, like Microsoft and Nvidia. Rekindled trade tensions between the Trump administration and crucial Apple markets in China and Europe are not helping the issue. Over the past year, Apple shares have lagged the S&P 500, growing 11%, while the S&P 500 has climbed 15%. The stock isn't doing any better to start 2026 either. Shares are down 6%, tying Meta as the Magnificent Seven's worst-performing member. So that's all we know for now. We'll be sure to keep you updated as soon as we have more information. Thanks for watching.